Welcome to livingpianos.com. I'm Robert Estrin with a really fascinating subject, the difference between playing Mozart and Chopin. They are great composers, lived in different eras, and there's some substantial differences to how to approach playing these composers stylistically with integrity that makes sense for the period styles as well as the instruments that they composed for. So we're going to start now with a little bit of Mozart, and this is actually the second movement from his famous Alla Turca sonata. Of course, the Alla Turca sonata you all know. That's the famous last movement. But what I'm going to play for you is a little bit of the second movement. And what you're going to hear is something in 3/4 time. And they're going to shift gears and play something of Chopin in 3/4 time. I tried to find as similar compositions as possible to show you the stylistic difference. Then I will explain why these composers are played differently. What is it about the crafting of these works and the period styles that lends itself to different performance practices? You're going to learn that all here today. So let's listen to a little bit of this Mozart, this minuet. So that gives you a little flavor of Mozart. I'm going to shift right over now to just a little bit of a Chopin waltz, a waltz in A flat, and listen, you're going to notice a difference right away. And I'm going to explain what I'm doing and how to approach playing these styles so you have integrity and are faithful to what these composers intended, basically. Even though there's room for interpretation, you still want to stay within the confines of what this music was really about. So you notice completely different sound. Now, why is that? Think about this. You know that the piano at the time Mozart was alive was nothing like the modern piano. Did you know that even in Chopin's time, the piano wasn't a fully developed instrument that we know and love today, but it was way closer. It didn't have 88 keys, but it had close to 88 keys, whereas during Mozart's time, it only had about 5 octaves of keys. The action was a primitive mechanism, so it was only so much you could do to get different tonalities. Not only that, but the whole sound of the instrument was more percussive, didn't have the same sustain, and importantly, it didn't have any pedals. So there was a certain amount you can impart with a lever operated with the knee in order to do what a sustain pedal does. But there's more to it than that. The pedaling, of course, makes a big difference in the sound. But you notice the fluidity of tempo in Chopin. There's a give and take. It's never gaining or losing time, but it kind of goes around the beat. This is called rubato. Rubato is really a romantic era expressive nuance that you can impart in your music, which is stylistically inappropriate for Mozart. Mozart and the whole classical era was all about form and structure. If you listen to more of this movement, you'd hear the different sections very well delineated and contrasting with one another with definite repeats. Now, there's some of that in Chopin waltzes, but now waltzes like his mazurkas, his polonaises, and so much of his music were based on dance forms. Now, Mozart did also have music based on dance forms, but naturally there were different dances. And so there's a structure to Mozart's music, the clarity of line, the clarity of purpose, that everything is really in its exact place and there's an architecture, and that's the beauty of Mozart, the beautiful way everything holds together. whereas Chopin is more about the expressive line and the nuance of expression. There's more room for expression in Mozart, in Chopin, whereas in Mozart, there's definitely room for expression, but it's within the structure of the music. So the expression is within the service of the music, whereas Chopin, you listen to different performances of this waltz or just about any Chopin, and you can't even believe the variety of the interpretations that lends itself to Chopin, much more so than Mozart. So what else do we have? I'm going to also show something else, another couple of works. I'm going to start with Mozart, his Sonata in F major, K332, the second movement. And this is a beautifully lyrical piece of music. Then I'm going to play also a lyrical piece of Chopin and the F sharp nocturne. And listen how, even though they're both beautiful and expressive, the Mozart, everything is very straightforward. The lines, everything is clear. It's not muddied with too much pedals, since there was no pedals on the piano at that time. And this is the kind of sound you would expect to hear out of a beautiful, this is the K332 F major sonata, a little bit of the second movement for you. And now for a little bit of Chopin, the beginning of his F sharp nocturne. So naturally, you hear huge differences. And in order to demonstrate this for you, I'm going to attempt to play the Mozart in a Chopin style with rubato, a liberal use of pedaling, very overtly expressive playing. And listen what happens to the Mozart. It doesn't really lend itself to this music. I'm warning you right now. Let's see what happens. And spoiler alert, I have not tried this yet. I have no idea what's going to come out. So this is going to be an adventure for both of us. It gets too syrupy sweet, doesn't it? That instead of that nice, beautiful architecture and the simple line where every single note is right in place. Now, let's flip it. I'm going to try to play this. I haven't done this before. I figured it would be great to just surprise myself, so we stay engaged in the process. I'm going to try to play this Chopin nocturne as if it's Mozart. Let's see what the heck this will sound like. You talk about losing the whole meaning of the music. Isn't it amazing how it doesn't work very well at all? It doesn't have that beauty and that flowing freedom that you need in Chopin. So once again, to encapsulate the difference between playing Mozart and playing Chopin, remember, first of all, the period style of the classical era of Mozart is all about form and structure. There's a perfection perfection to the composition. You want to highlight with the beautiful placement of each note precisely without too much freedom, trying to place everything exactly where it should be to give you a feeling of, like a jewel-like perfection. Also, the fact that there were no pedals on the piano, and the instrument itself had a more percussive sound, a more, kind of an aggressive sound. So the whole character of the music is different, even when played on a modern piano. To contrast that with Chopin, the piano is much more developed. You have the pedals to work with. You could have a lot of expressive possibilities with the give and take of tempo, the rubato, the liberal use of pedaling, the overt expression, never losing the time or gaining time, but having a little bit of flow with the music, bringing the listener with you. So that's what you want to think about when playing these period styles to get an authenticity. More than that, it really just works better. I think I demonstrated that for you by trying to play Mozart like Chopin and Chopin like Mozart. I'm really interested in the comments if any of you prefer the stylistic flipping that I did here. What are your impressions? Robert Estrin here at livingpianos.com. We are your online piano resource. See you next time.